Hello, everybody. Hello. How's everybody doing? Well, bringing you another breaking story about Brett Favre. But first, let me play this magnificent opening. Who is Brett Favre? Brett Favre, right now, is a sorry SOB. Okay? So, just in case you do not know who is Brett Favre, hold on. Good. Okay. So, Brett Favre is a former quarterback, former NFL quarterback. I don't know that much about sports, but hold on. Okay. All right. So, Brett Lorenzo Favre is an American professional football quarterback who played in the National Football League for 20 seasons, primarily with the Green Bay Packers. Okay. Fair had 321 consecutive starts from 1992 to 2010, including 297 regular season games, the most in league history. Brett Favre um, had a spouse, but he has two children, Brittany and Brila. Now, so as we can see, Brett Favre, hey Jill, he had to testify because allegedly Brett Favre, along with the governor of Mississippi, they stole $77 million. Okay, $77 million from the Mississippi Welfare Fund. And he did it. Well, he did it. Because these rich people, they just do anything. Mississippi is the poorest state in the United States. And you want to steal from them? You want to steal from the poor. So he's repaid $1 million in state welfare money he accepted for speeches where he didn't appear. So the Mississippi judge put a gag order on him and others as part of the suit. So they can't talk about the case. So this is where we have all of the rich, elite, and powerful. They're going to look out for each other. Okay. You know, they've got friends that are judges, lawyers. So, you know, it's their world. Hold on, y'all. So I'm getting ready to share a video.
The committee. My name is Brett Favre, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to testify here today. I was born and raised in Mississippi. My parents were school teachers. I played football for Southern Miss and professionally for 20 years and was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Since I retired from football, I'm engaged in various business enterprises, endorsed products I believe in, and with my wonderful wife, Deanna, helped many charities in my home state and elsewhere. Throughout my career, there were many highs and many lows. Those lows helped me find out who I really am. They taught me to persevere, overcome challenges, and succeed. But the challenges my family and I have faced over the last 3 years because certain government officials in Mississippi failed to protect federal TANF funds from fraud and abuse and are unjustifiably trying to blame me, those challenges have hurt my good name and are worse than anything I faced in football. When this started, I didn't know what TANF was. Now I know TANF is one of the country's most important welfare programs to help people in need. This is a cause dear to my heart and to Deanna's, as we have our own Far for Hope Foundation to help disadvantaged children. In 2020, Mississippi claimed that $77 million in TANF funds had been misspent, resulting in criminal convictions of state officials and people running a nonprofit which had received these funds. This nonprofit had a long-standing partnership with the state and an impeccable reputation. Mississippi also brought a civil lawsuit against numerous individuals, including me. The gag order bars the parties from discussing the specifics of the lawsuit. Instead, I'm here to share what I've now seen up close about how reforms are needed to stop the misspending of TANF funds. Even before I was sued, when I was informed that the nonprofit appeared to have improperly used TANF funds, I returned to the state the funds I had received. Even though I had provided services to the nonprofit, and even though I knew and I know I had done nothing wrong, I returned the funds, no questions asked. I had also offered to help raise funds for a new volleyball facility at Southern Miss, the one that's gotten all the publicity. I wanted to help my alma mater and benefit the community. Southern Miss introduced me to the nonprofit to see if they could help with the funding. I had no way of knowing that there was anything wrong with how the state funded the project, especially since it was publicly approved by many state agencies and multiple attorneys, including the Attorney General. Sadly, I also lost an investment in a company that I believed was developing a breakthrough concussion drug I thought would help others. And I'm sure you'll understand why it's too late for me, because I've recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's. This is also a cause dear to my heart. Recently, the doctor running the company pleaded guilty to taking TANF money for his own use. I believe that I got swept up in a civil lawsuit at the instigation of State Auditor Shad White, an ambitious public official who decided to tarnish my reputation to try to advance his own political career. Even after he applauded me for returning the funds and said there was no evidence that I knew TANF funds were involved. And strangely enough, Shad did not bring the TANF misuse issue to the Department of Justice, but to a local DA, who himself is now under federal and criminal investigation. He has profited from his position as someone with firsthand knowledge of the Mississippi case, but when my lawyers wanted to question him under oath, he swore he had no personal knowledge of the events. I've now sued Shad for defamation in a case upheld by the court. Most recently, the Mississippi Attorney General has even sued Shad for exceeding his powers and going after me. I've also learned that the state, believe it or not, is using TANF funds to pay outside private lawyers, Adam Stone and Katie Pickett of the Jones Walker firm, to sue me and others. Those same lawyers, before they sued me, came to my hometown to try to convince me to retain them in this very dispute. I also understand that those same lawyers 3 years ago never even interviewed witnesses before they sued me and rejected a settlement offer from Southern Miss to resolve this dispute early on through scholarships for TANF qualifying students, a settlement that would have shut off the flow of TANF funds to the lawyers. Importantly, I have learned that nobody was or is watching how TANF funds are spent. Our laws don't sufficiently protect against TANF spending unrelated to helping people out of poverty. States have too much flexibility on how they spend this money, which leads to waste and abuse. We need mechanisms for oversight of TANF spending and greater clarity as to permissible uses of TANF funds. Democrats and Republicans should agree. Rampant state misuse of TANF funds is hurting efforts to help vulnerable families and children. And I was told Ways and Means Committee was working on this problem, so I was willing to speak to you to encourage Congress to reform this important anti-poverty program. And I urge Congress to put TANF guardrails in place to ensure that what happened in Mississippi doesn't happen again. I urge Congress to pass the TANF reforms included in the committee member bills, reforms designed to target funds to those truly most in need, to help low-income American find and keep a job, to limit how states can spend TANF grants and reduce wasteful bureaucracy, and to protect taxpayer funds from fraud and abuse. And in closing, thank you, Chairman Smith and Ranking Member Neal.
Okay, everybody. I don't give a darn what Brett Favre got to say because I want to show y'all something else. As you can see, you can look at this Brett Favre and the Mississippi welfare fund scandal. He stole from one of the poorest states. Okay, I can give a damn about Brett Favre. I don't care what Brett Favre got. Okay. Hey, boss lady Denise. And don't tell me I'm not compassionate. I'm a compassionate person. But I'm sorry that you got Parkinson's. What I'm mad about is them people on welfare, they might have made a mistake on their forms. They might have got a job and say, well, hold on, everybody. Okay. Sorry, they were making an announcement. So it says Mississippi has ranked among the poorest states in the United States for decades, but only a fraction of its federal welfare money has been going to families. Instead, the Mississippi Department of Human Services allowed well-connected people to waste tens of millions of welfare dollars from 2016 to 2019. Okay? Now, I don't know why Favre is not facing any criminal charges, but and we know why, because he's rich. Okay? And the color of his skin. But he is among more than 3 dozen defendants in a civil lawsuit the state filed in 2022. The suit demands repayment of money that was misspent through TANF. Now, before they had to make announcements, you might have a man or a woman that's receiving welfare benefits. They get a job. Okay. Now they know their benefits going to expire once they report they working. So some people, they need that 1 month push, because now I'm working now. Uh, it's gonna take me 2 to 3 weeks to get my first paycheck, because I've started a job. So these people might, you know, not report that they didn't start working as soon as possible, you know, because we all know that you got to get on your feet, and it's going to take a month. Do you know that the welfare department they will take these people's benefits away for not reporting income when they first got their job? Some of them are even trying to charge people, and this man gets to walk around for for without doing nothing. See, these are the things that make me say, mm, mm, mm. Shame on you, rich people. See, y'all the ones greedy. It ain't that woman or man that lied on the farm for a couple of months till they could get situated on a job to get some extra food stamps or things. Y'all want to prosecute them to the fullest. Now, White, a Republican, said in 2020 that Favre, remember this is Brett Favre, he's got millions of dollars, had improperly received 1.1 million in speaking fees from a nonprofit organization that spent welfare with approval from the State Department of Human Services. White said Fair did not show up for the speeches. So he was charging this organization money didn't show up for the speeches. Although Fair repaid the 1.1 million, he still owes nearly 7,300, which is close to a million in interest. And he needs to hurry up and pay them. Because if I cheat on my taxes, I have to pay that money. They garnish my money. If you cheat on unemployment, if you cheat and get food stamps, they coming for this. Why would a rich man need money? Why would he need to be paid to go speak at places? If you love the state of Mississippi so much, that's where you was born. Now, there's a nonprofit group called the Mississippi Community Education Center. They made two payments of welfare money to Far Enterprises, the athlete's business. 500,000 in December 2017 and 600,000 in 218. I'm reading this article to y'all. Now, the other guy knew, he pled guilty as her son, Zachary. Now, Fair gonna act like he didn't know the payments he received came from welfare funds and know that his charity had provided millions of dollars to poor kids in his home state of Mississippi and Wisconsin. You a lie. You a lie, Brett. You was supposed to have been going around speaking. These people make me sick. Now, I'm getting ready to play another video so y'all can understand just how this welfare scandal came about. Okay?
By now, you might have heard something about a Mississippi welfare scandal involving Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre. And let's face it, if this story happened just a decade ago, no media outlet would be able to stop talking about it. But welcome to 2022, and we have a lot to be distracted by these days, so let's get you caught up. So these are the four main players in this scandal that you need to know about. On the far left is former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant. He was the man in charge of the state of Mississippi when all of this went down. Now, next to him is John Davis, the state's former welfare agency director. Then next is Nancy New. She was the head of a nonprofit in Mississippi that worked with the state welfare agency. And then next to her is, of course, Brett Favre, former NFL quarterback and Mississippi native. They're all caught up in an alleged welfare fraud scheme that, to the Mississippi State Auditor, says involved the misuse of more than $70 million, earmarked to go to the state's poorest. The money was instead used for all kinds of non-welfare related payouts, like to a retired pro wrestler, a horse farm, and yes, to Brett Favre. Keep in mind, this is the same state that's capital city couldn't even deliver clean drinking water for months to its residents. And it ranks as the poorest state in the country, with nearly 20% of its residents living in poverty. That state auditor's report found that Favre took more than $1 million for speeches he never gave. Favre has since paid back that money, but the state says he still owes more than $200,000 in interest. That same report shows $5 million in welfare funds were used to build a new volleyball stadium at Favre's alma mater, the University of Southern Mississippi. His daughter just happens to have played volleyball at USM at that time. Favre and Bryant have denied knowing where the money was coming from, and neither has been charged with a crime, but Davis and New have. This spring, New and her son pleaded guilty to bribery and fraud charges and agreed to cooperate with prosecutors. Since then, an attorney representing New's nonprofit has handed over text messages from Favre that suggest to critics his further involvement in the welfare scheme. Favre allegedly writing in one text, "Nancy, Santa came today and dropped some money off." The messages don't indicate Favre knew exactly where the cash was coming from, though. Then just last week, Davis pled guilty to several federal and state charges. In the plea, Davis also agreed to fully cooperate with prosecutors as they pursue the case further. Joining me now to help break it all down is AJ Perez. He's a senior reporter for Front Office Sports, and he's been covering this story closely, as with a lot of other stories that we're always interested in. AJ, thanks so much for joining the show today. I mean, I kind of wanted to cover the waterfront in that intro. Is there something that I've missed, especially in terms of recent developments, that you think our viewers should know about?
There's a couple things, but you covered it very well. One was he didn't get the money funneled to the college, but he also was trying to get $1.5 million for an indoor football facility to help recruit Deion Sanders' son in 2019.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Trust me, I wasn't going to let that one sit on the sidelines, no pun intended. So we just talked about John Davis taking a plea deal. You've written that you believe that Brett Favre just might be the very next target for prosecutors. How worried should he be that charges could be on the way now that Davis himself has taken a plea deal?
Yeah, as you laid out, there's two big fish that haven't been indicted yet. That's the former Governor Phil Bryant and Brett Favre. Brett Favre is being sued in that lawsuit where we got all those text messages last week, and we've gotten several text messages that seem to show that Favre knew the money was coming from, somewhere maybe that it shouldn't be coming from, and that was, that's how he's been attached to more than $8 million of the welfare funds either funneled to him, like you mentioned, through the speeches or to his projects. So, and the other one's Phil Bryant, who is not a plaintiff, unlike Favre. Favre is a plaintiff in that lawsuit, as you mentioned. But yeah, Bryant is still, that's who released all the text messages to try to on last week. He was trying to distance himself from Favre and trying to lay some blame on Favre instead of him.
AJ, is it just me? But I feel like this Brett Favre issue has kind of been percolating for a while. Tell our viewers, how long has Favre kind of been a target of this investigation? I mean, the money for the speeches that he took, for the speeches he never gave, I feel like that was yesterday, but it's been a while, right?
Yeah, it goes back to 2017 to 2018 when the state auditor started looking into a startup that he was involved in. This was a concussion treatment startup, a nasal spray to treat concussions. The startup was called Prevacus. And I actually covered this years ago because I wanted to talk to Favre for another story. So I actually mentioned Prevacus, and I did not go into the merits because it seems kind of wild to treat a head injury or traumatic brain injury with a nasal spray like Nasonex, but I gave it a mention. But this is how the state auditor kind of got into Favre. Was he got that $2.2 million, which did come from the same funds. And the funds are meant, as you mentioned, for the poorest of the poor in the poorest state and the nation. And they don't do a lot of direct support to those in poverty in Mississippi. So this is so that kind of got them going. Then the state auditor went to look at the speeches, and then later they found out this about the volleyball complex.
As I said earlier, and as you mentioned, the story has a lot of layers. You reported last week that Brett Favre wasn't done after getting the money for the volleyball stadium. He went on to try to secure an additional $1.5 million in welfare funds to build an indoor football facility at Southern Mississippi. You mentioned it was to recruit Deion Sanders' son. I read, obviously, that Deion Sanders and Brett Favre have been friends for a while. His son was looking at another university to go and play at another program. What more can you tell us about these developments? I mean, it literally just kind of came around just a few days ago.
Yeah, it was. His son is now playing for Deion, for his father over at Jackson State. And in 2019, he was one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the nation. So everybody was kind of taking their shot at him. And beyond that, beyond the text messages, there was also Favre. I don't know if it was flippantly or he was actually serious about using prison labor to help these projects along and to stay under budget.
AJ, Favre made upwards of $140 million during his playing career, doesn't include endorsements, et cetera. What's he saying at all about any of this? I mean, he took money that was intended to go to Mississippi's poorest, their neediest. Has there been anything from Brett Favre in his own defense that he's put out?
Nothing. There's been no statement from him. He hasn't done any media. He's been taken off all of his three media spots that he had. It was Sirius XM, ESPN Radio in Milwaukee, and also 3013, which is a football news website. So he's basically said nothing since, I would say, September 13th, when he appeared on one of those shows or wrote something for that website. And his agent's not talking. His lawyer won't even, I can't even get through to his lawyer. I get through to his receptionist, and I don't get much. Mississippi Today, who's been done a great job, and other outlets down in Mississippi have talked to his lawyer, and his lawyers, as you mentioned, said that Favre didn't know where this money was coming from, and he didn't know it was coming from a welfare program.
AJ Perez, you are one of the most dogged investigative reporters I know in this space. Do not let that receptionist break your spirit. AJ Perez, thank you so much for being here. We're going to keep on following your reporting. Have you back. Let us know. I personally think an indictment is around the corner for Brett Favre.
Okay, everybody. So there you have it. F. Brett Favre. I don't give a darn that he's got Parkinson's. I want him to be punished from stealing from the poor people from the state of Mississippi. You made over $170 million and you had to steal from the poor. I don't care if you have Parkinson's. I'm a two-time cancer survivor. Ain't nobody got no sympathy for me. And then for me, and then you wanna you speaking. See, he went to a congressional hearing on Tuesday. So during these hearings on his fraud, he reveals he has Parkinson. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn what you got. You stole from the poor people of Mississippi. Hey, hey, flamethrower. Hey, sheep. F Brett Favre and the horse, mule, camel, car that he came in on. I don't care if you got Parkinson's, because those people in Mississippi, they didn't even have clean water down there. Then you gonna act like you don't know about that the money was coming from welfare, but you took the money. You knew you were supposed to go for speaking engagements. You still build the welfare department. You liar. Hey, she, you liar. So he went to this congressional hearing and he spoke about Prevacus, a company making a concussion drug. He he took $2 million from welfare and invested $2 million in the company that's making a concussion drug. Okay? See, he invested in that company. And then you took $2 million from the state of Mississippi. So I don't care what you got. It was all about you. You didn't give a darn about the poor people of Mississippi. So go somewhere, Brett Favre, sit down. $77 million was taken from the Mississippi Welfare Department. Benefits that should have went to children, families, mothers, fathers. They don't even have clean water down there in Jackson, Mississippi. And you took the money to build a volleyball court, invest in some experimental drug for concussions, and then you want to claim like you don't know. And now you knew something. You paying that money for them speaking engagements that you didn't show up for. People that needed this money the most. So I don't give a damn if Brett Favre has Parkinson's disease. I don't understand why he was not indicted. The other two people was, but yeah, we know. You know, he's rich. He can buy his way out. You know, plus that was the state of Mississippi. We don't know, you know, the governor was in on it too. They was all in on this. If if you overspend and don't report earned income when you receiving welfare, they will turn these people's lives upside down. So how come his life has not been turned upside down? F you, Brett Favre. This is April Showers, and I'm out.